Welcome to Lowering Costs with an In-House Bedbug Management Prevention and Management Plan. Glad you could join us. My name is Susanna Reese. I'm a trainer and consultant with Stop Pests in Housing. Our program has worked with affordable housing agencies across the country since 2007 to improve pest control through integrated pest management, or IPM. Today's presentation is brought to you by the Northeastern IPM Center at Cornell University with funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's Office of Healthy Homes and Lead Hazard Control, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture's National Institute of Food and Agriculture. Today we have Dr. Deanie Miller and Molly Steadfast from Virginia Tech joining us to share their extensive knowledge on managing bed bugs in multifamily housing with IPM. Over 3,000 people registered for this webinar, so we're really pleased with that, and we know that there's a need for this information. Unfortunately, WebEx could only handle the first 1,000 people to register to log on, so many of you will be watching the recorded version of this, and I apologize for the inconvenience. Dr. Deanie Miller is a professor at Virginia Tech University, where she heads up the Dodson Urban Pest Management Lab, and she's an urban pest management specialist for the state of Virginia. Dr. Miller is internationally recognized expert in the area of urban pest management, particularly bedbug biology, behavior, and control. We also have Molly Steadfast. She's a 2014 Friends of IPM Award winner and the director of the new Bedbug and Urban Pest Information Center at Virginia Tech. She's logged in countless hours in the field and in the lab working on bedbug management research, and I'm looking forward to hearing about how their research will help us make some better decisions about where to spend money in bedbug control and prevention. I wanted to share a few slides with you about who we are. Our target audience was property managers and maintenance, which we hit, we're happy to say. We asked you to describe your bedbug management program, and I was happy to see that a lot of people don't have bedbugs, which means you're thinking proactively. And hopefully today's webinar will help you maintain your bedbug-free status. A portion of you handle all the bedbug management in-house, and most of you do a combination of in-house and contracting out. And I was pleased to see a lot of you are doing staff and resident education and also proactive inspection. So all these other management techniques, I think we'll hear about some of them from Dr. Miller and Molly today. So without further ado, I'm going to switch the presenter over to Molly Steadfast.
Thank you, Susanna. We have a lot to cover in this hour. These are the topics we're looking at covering through the webinar. I'll be speaking about bedbug identification, proactive bedbug inspections, how to prevent bedbugs within building spread, and staff and resident education. And then Dr. Miller will pick up and talk about your pest control contract, working with a pest management company, and what you need to know about professional bedbug treatments and what you should be doing. To get started with, I wanted to talk a little bit about some basic bedbug biology and identification. A lot of the time we run into people who still think that bedbugs are a myth, but no, they're not, so let's get started. Bedbugs are small, about the size of an apple seed, so they're not microscopic or invisible. Bedbugs are wingless, so they're not flying around inside your house. Bedbugs are dorsoventrally flattened, which means they're flattened like a pancake as opposed to a flea, which is flattened vertically. So they're not very good at crawling through hair. Bedbugs have piercing, sucking mouth parts, so they can only consume liquids. And the only liquid that they consume is blood, so they're not eating your skin or your furniture. And finally, bedbugs undergo incomplete metamorphosis, where unlike in mosquitoes, where only the adult female needs a blood meal, all 5 instars and adults must blood feed. So there's a huge potential for bedbug bites. When bedbugs are present, they leave behind evidence. Usually, the first indicator of bedbug presence is bites, but bites are not definitive, as every person reacts differently to bedbug bites, and bites can be caused by many different things. Another good indicator is the presence of bedbug feces, which look like small black dots. You can see here. These small black dots are blood that has gone through the gut and been digested, which is why it's black and not red, like you would expect blood to be. Another indicator is exuvia, which are the molted skins of bedbugs. They're yellowish brown, and they range in size depending on which instar shed it. Exuvia can be found in bedbug aggregations or by themselves, and they're an especially good indicator because since there are 5 nymphal stages of bedbugs, there will be 5 exuvia per bedbug in the population. And of course, finally, the best indicator of bedbugs is if you see live bugs. Hopefully everyone who's listening today has seen a bedbug. And if you haven't, then as Dr. Miller would say, shame on you. Going forward, bedbugs are going to be part of our lives, especially if your job has anything to do with people. If this bothers you, then either you should change careers or suck it up, because like it or not, you're going to need to be able to calmly and rationally cope with bedbugs from this point forward. Because bedbugs may quickly become part of your daily lives if they haven't already, we recommend that everyone have a bedbug sample, either in a small see-through vial or in a plastic baggie. If you have a hands-on sample, you'll be able to show actual bedbugs to people who've never seen them before, like residents or new employees, and you'll also be able to compare your reference bedbugs to any insect that someone brings you, and you'll be able to make a positive identification. So why is it so difficult to control bedbugs? There are many treatment and control options available, which we'll talk about later in the webinar, but these options are not always viable or successful, and they can be very expensive. The costs of bedbug control depends on infestation level, the clutter level in the infested area, and the treatment strategy used. Listed here, you can see the costs of several common control methods and how widely they can vary. So who is suffering the most? Because of the high cost of bedbug control, low-income multi-unit apartment facilities are being financially devastated by bedbugs, particularly because low-income apartment residents are often elderly, mentally or physically handicapped, and most often they're unable to recognize the signs of an infestation and they cannot afford a bedbug treatment. These residents are also at high risk for repeated infestations because they have low relocation ability and there's a high transfer of secondhand goods within the communities. Further, multi-unit facilities are even more vulnerable because they have shared interior walls, ventilation, electrical, and plumbing systems. Based on the NPMA, National Pest Management Association's bedbug best practices, many multi-unit facilities treat not only the infested apartment, but also the 8 surrounding units. This is something that we need to start thinking twice about. Because of the already high costs of bedbug treatments, we need to stop blindly treating adjacent units that may or may not have any bedbugs. When it comes to what should be done in these adjacent units, first, they should be inspected for bedbugs and evidence. We all know that bedbugs and their evidence can be seen, so someone should go into these adjacent units and look for bedbugs and other indicators. Next, passive monitors should be installed in adjacent units, particularly in rooms that border an infested unit and under beds and sofas. Because bedbugs do not feed every day, these monitors should be left in place for a minimum of 2 weeks, but ideally they would be able to be in these units forever. Active monitors that may have a heat or carbon dioxide component to attract the bedbugs have not been shown to be any more effective than passive monitors. Also, bedbugs have been shown to avoid sticky surfaces that are designed to trap them. They're smarter than that. And so these passive monitors are really the best thing we have available. Next, these monitors should be regularly inspected so that bedbug introductions can be caught early. And also, how would we know if the monitors caught anything if no one was looking in these monitors? Next, in every building, the type of construction should be taken into account because it can vary widely building to building. For example, there might be poured concrete walls, which a bedbug would not be able to move through anyways. So doing a treatment in an adjacent unit with poured concrete walls in between the units would be completely ineffective and would use up money that you could really be using elsewhere. Finally, a unit should not be treated if no bedbug evidence was found. Your money would be better spent if it were put into monitoring so that bedbug introductions and small infestations can be found and controlled earlier. As part of your job, you should know what a bedbug looks like. And further, in order to protect yourself and your company from a future lawsuit, there are things that all of us can do to take proactive measures before bedbugs arrive. While each situation will be different, these are some things that we can start doing now. First, someone who's qualified should inspect rooms and areas for bedbugs, even if no bedbugs have been reported there. This is something that each of you with your bedbug reference sample would be able to do. You can look for live bedbugs, their evidence, and also look for potential harborages, such as clutter near sleeping or lounging areas, or in an area where new items or personal belongings are often placed, such as waiting areas or entryways. Next, these inspections should be done on a regular basis and could easily be included when units or rooms are already being entered. For example, at air conditioner filter change times or regularly scheduled maintenance or even at healthy homes visits. Also, because our society is so lawsuit happy, it's very important to document everything. Having proof that your company regularly inspected for bedbugs will not only help to protect you from lawsuits in the future, but can also help you to recognize these early introductions or small infestations before they get out of hand. Because there aren't people or belongings in vacant units, people living in vacant units or their belongings there, vacant units can be inspected and treated more easily. But sometimes the pest pressure may not be obvious when there is no human presence, because the bedbugs may have moved away looking for a place to live that's closer to a host. Despite this, in vacant units, we should definitely be sending in our qualified inspector people to see if there are any pests at all. If pests are found or even suspected, then bring in a professional to inspect and monitor, not just to treat immediately. Pest control professionals should only treat if they have determined that the pest pressure warrants a treatment. Finally, make sure that all pests, not just the bedbugs, but roaches and other pests like that, are gone before someone new moves in. In some units where there's a known history of bedbugs, a pest professional should still inspect the vacant unit before treating it to make sure that an appropriate treatment is applied. If no pests were found and a chemical treatment or heat treatment were applied, those things wouldn't offer any residual to provide any future protection against bedbugs. Next, while it may not be possible very often, if there's an opportunity to leave a unit vacant for more than a week, put passive monitors in the bedrooms, living rooms, and other common spaces, such as laundry rooms or lobbies, and always make sure that these monitors are checked regularly. Proactive inspections, like we just talked about, will be key to managing bedbugs going forward. But before I start talking about preventative bedbug management, I wanted to review some of the non-chemical bedbug control strategies that you should be aware of. Because bedbugs have proven their ability to develop resistance to a wide range of insecticide classes, these effective non-chemical methods are needed to manage bedbugs and slow their spread. Mattress and box spring encasements are used to prevent bedbugs from infesting a bed so that the mattress and box spring don't have to be thrown away. They're widely used and easily accessible for all sizes of mattress. Monitoring devices are intended to intercept and trap bedbugs that may be using bed or furniture legs as routes to access a host. Like I said before, the active monitors that might use carbon dioxide or heat are not any better than the passive monitors, and bedbugs are way too smart and will actively avoid getting stuck in anything sticky. Extreme cold temperatures, such as the cryonite system, will kill bed bugs, but there is a lot of variability in the mortality and how well it works and how easily it can be applied. So freezing and extreme cold temperatures are not typically recommended for bed bug control. Next, the bed bug's susceptibility to heat has allowed us to use common household dryers to kill bed bugs in infested clothing items or linen items, and heat chambers and portable heating units can be used to treat infested furniture. Bed bugs can only survive up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit, and we can that's not that hot to us, but it will kill bed bugs. So things like the household dryer and heat chambers can be used to treat bed bug infested items. Heat can also be used to treat whole rooms or entire structures. And also, finally, desiccant dusts such as diatomaceous earth and amorphous silica gel are effective mechanical insecticides, which kill insects by absorbing the waterproofing components of their cuticle so that they desiccate, dehydrate, and die. With these non-chemical control methods, with all of them, it's important to note that they're not standalone methods, and they should be used as part of a comprehensive integrated control program. At Virginia Tech, we developed a prevention and management program comprised of these 7 different components, which, if you use them all together, would help you to manage and hopefully suppress and prevent bed bug infestations from getting too bad or from getting very bad in buildings. We evaluated all of these management methods for their efficacy, ease of implementation, low cost, and practicality for use in different facilities. Ultimately, we incorporated these 7 components that could be used separately but were most effective when we used them together as part of an integrated program. Our program is intended to increase early detection of bedbug infestations and limit bedbug spread within a building. The program is not intended to remediate current infestations, and that's something that I need to reinforce, is that our program was not intended to control any bed bugs or get rid of bed bugs. It is strictly for increasing early detection and really having building-wide management. I'm going to talk about where we put the program in place, and I'm going to give you some of the results of how we use the program. Our study site was an apartment complex in Harrisonburg, Virginia, called Lineweaver Apartments. It is 121 units, both one-bedroom and efficiencies. They first had their first bedbug infestation in December 2010, where they had 3 units that were determined to be infested. The administration hired a local company to provide whole unit heat treatments. And although only 3 units were said to be infested, they treated an additional 4 units because they were adjacent to the infested units. In 2011, there were 13 infestations. The Housing Authority Director contacted us for advice about how to control their growing bedbug population. He was particularly concerned about pesticide use because his residents were elderly and disabled, and he was specifically looking for bedbug prevention strategies that were also minimally toxic and cost-effective and sustainable, something that they could do on their own. And I wanted to quickly show you a small diagram of how their bedbug infestations have progressed. So this is December 2010. These are the units that were treated for bedbugs in the pink. And if we go on to January 2011, the dark pink ones, these ones, are the ones that were treated in this month, and the light pink ones have been previously treated. And I'll just move through these quite quickly. You can see as we go forward, we're now finishing out December, that the bedbugs are spreading throughout the building. And this is now 2 years after the first bedbug infestation was introduced in December. And you can see that the bedbugs have moved throughout the building really without rhyme or reason. You can also see that a lot of the units are being retreated, which either means that we're having reintroductions, chronic infestations, or that the heat treatments being used are not effective. And this goes all the way, I don't think I can click any faster, sorry, to June 2014. Here you can see the difference between then and now. With 4 years, we can see there's a big difference in how we started and how it ended, and how it hasn't ended. It's still going on. Between January 2012 and June 2012, we implemented our program. What we did was we worked with the facility staff to implement the components of our program throughout the facility. One of the primary things we were working with was a desk and dust barrier that was a perimeter treatment in each unit. So this was not intended to control bed bugs. It was strictly as a perimeter protective barrier to stop bed bugs from moving from unit to unit. We used Diatomaceous Earth and professional grade application equipment to apply the Diatomaceous Earth in the wall voids between each unit. We worked with the facility staff, and management was very happy to have us there and help out. Not all of the components were able to be implemented because the management either couldn't afford it or were unable to do it in every unit. In each unit, though, we did vacuum to remove any old bedbug evidence or any live bedbugs. We also wanted to be able to access the baseboards, and we needed to remove some of the clutter and debris that was left there. The next thing we did was the Diatomaceous Earth barrier. We used, like I said, professional application equipment to apply Diatomaceous Earth in the wall voids, generally going up underneath the baseboard, but also going in through light switch plates and electrical outlet plates. Monitors and mattress encasements were not applied or installed in all the units because we couldn't afford to get them for all the units, and also the management was unable to do that. They were able to purchase these things at wholesale cost and sell them to their residents at a reduced rate. The clothes dryer for heating and treating cloth items was used quite often because the facility had an on-site laundry room. A heat chamber was not built, and we did provide resident and staff education about bedbug prevention and how to prevent bringing bedbugs into your own home and what to do if bedbugs show up. We also trained the staff on how to do the Diatomaceous Earth perimeter barrier, how to install monitors and mattress encasements in case they needed to help the residents do that in the future. In each apartment, the amount of time spent on preparation and Diatomaceous Earth application was recorded, as well as the number of workers, unit size, and amount of DE, Diatomaceous Earth, that we applied. In order to determine the potential cost of implementing the preventive dust barrier, the combined labor and supply costs were calculated based on the rates you see here, which is at $1 per minute per worker, which is the break-even cost for the pest management industry. This table, these are some of our results. This table shows the mean treatment time and mean amount of dust or Diatomaceous Earth applied for efficiency and one-bedroom units based on which type of professional application equipment we used. The overall average application time was about 47 minutes per unit when we worked with 2 workers. We applied about 60 grams of Diatomaceous Earth in each unit, and the overall product and labor cost for each unit was on average about $107. Total, the theoretical cost Had we been a pest control company or another company that had been hired to do this, would have cost approximately $11,500 to treat the entire building with a proactive, preventative diatomaceous earth perimeter barrier. In order to determine if our program was effective, we used the bedbug treatment records in order to calculate the number of heat treatments and cost of bedbug remediation for each year. Because the Lineweaver Apartments was our study site, they didn't pay for the implementation of the bedbug suppression and management program. We calculated percent change from year to year for annual total cost, the number of new infestations, and the number of heat treatments. From 2011 all the way through 2013, there were a total of 105 whole unit heat treatments applied at Lineweaver. They only used whole unit heat to treat when a resident complained, and so over those 3 years, there were 105 total treatments. In 2012, there were both more initial treatments and more retreatments than there had been in 2011, which was actually caused a 308% increase in remediation costs. But in 2013, there were fewer initial treatments and fewer total treatments than there were in 2012, which caused a slight reduction in remediation costs. You can see here, this is a graph of how much money they spent in each year, and in 2012 was the most money, and you see that it has gone slightly down. This is the most important result because it shows that in 2013, this was the first year where not only did their number of initial infestations not go up, but their costs did not increase, which is really, really staggering. 1 year after the implementation of the program, we found that we were able to slightly reduce both the number of new bedbug infestations and also the costs associated with bedbug treatments. The most compelling result of this study, like I just said, was that 2013 was the first year where their costs did not go up. Also, the Diatomaceous Earth perimeter barrier didn't take that long for us to implement, only, like I said, 47 minutes per unit, but this would vary if the residents weren't able to help prepare or keep their apartment fairly clean, so we had to be able to do a lot extra vacuuming and things like that. Also, clutter level in the apartment, the unit size, if the residents were there and asking questions, things like that. And also, we did have some variation depending on what type of applicator we used. The Diatomaceous Earth perimeter barrier in some facilities would be able to be applied by facilities workers as long as in each state that complied with their pesticide regulations. But it could also easily be applied as part of a regularly scheduled maintenance routine or at unit turnover and when the units were vacant. We also saw that our program was relatively inexpensive and that while this theoretical cost that we calculated, the $11,500, was quite expensive for a one-time at once, it would only be a one-time treatment because the diatomaceous earth would be left in place and would offer residual activity. We saw that the mean cost per unit between $67 and $149, depending on unit size, was a small per unit financial investment, and this will hopefully reduce the number of whole unit heat treatments that the building will need in the future. We're going to continue to monitor this building and the program over the next few years, and we hope to see the number of new bedbug infestations and the cost of bedbug remediation continue to decline. Finally, I just wanted to talk really quickly about what I think is one of the most important components of the program, which is resident and staff education. In 2012 and 13, we were able to implement this program in several other facilities, and in each case, the program was easily modified to fit the specific needs of each community. We worked with staff and residents at each community, so both maintenance staff and administration staff. And what we found was that, most importantly, that people needed more information. We found that residents particularly needed to know what bed bugs looked like so that they could avoid bringing them into their homes. They needed to know how big things were, how big bed bugs were, how big bed bug eggs were, so that they wouldn't confuse bed bug evidence with other pest evidence or even just debris. Overall, though, basically, everyone should have the opportunity to know as much about bed bugs as possible so that they can be prepared when bed bugs do come into their home or their facility. And I just wanted to point out in these two pictures, the top picture is we're working with the staff and administration, and you can see that there were a lot of people who were helping, who were present at that training. And all of these people who attended were very interested in learning. And at the bottom picture is a presentation that I made to some residents. And again, I was astounded to see so many people that had come out to learn more about bed bugs and how to prevent bringing them into their homes. And truly, if we can get more education out to residents and staff members, it will help us in the long run, because it will make everyone more engaged in the bed bug problems, make people more able to recognize bed bugs when they do see them in the future.
For the second half, what I'm going to be talking about is really what our own responsibilities as property managers, facilities managers, and whatever are. Let me say our lab's been working on bed bugs since 2004, so this is kind of our 10-year anniversary, and I've had a lot of experience now working with apartment management and some of the situations that are out there. And I have to say, bed bugs are only on the increase in the United States. They haven't decreased even slightly. We are going to be looking at this problem with the point of view on how we are going to deal with this situation for the next 10 years. So this is sort of a little bit of a reality check, and what I really want to focus on is kind of your responsibilities with regards to bed bugs. What I'm seeing out there with apartment managers a lot of the time is, if they don't have somebody in-house who is a certified pest control applicator, pesticide applicator, they want to hire somebody outside. They want to hire a pest control company, and they basically want to hire the cavalry to come in and save them so that they don't have to think about bed bugs anymore. And that attitude has failed us utterly, okay? And we are going to have to look at it in a new way. So I hope you don't mind when I put this up as our first bullet here. If you don't think bed bugs are part of your job and you work in multi-unit housing of any kind, I would ask you to do us all a favor and seek new employment. And the reason for this is we are going to have to embrace this bed bug situation, or we are going to be paying, and I mean hard monetary payments for this pest forever. And I would even advise you, if you're in a position to hire people into multi-unit housing that are going to be employees for your management company or what have you, that this be part of the interview process as well. Because I hear this across the United States a lot. It's like, well, bed bugs, I wasn't hired to have to deal with bed bugs. And let me tell you, for everybody who's listening here, I was not hired to deal with bed bugs either. When I came into my position, it was German cockroaches and subterranean termites, so I've had to embrace bed bugs as well. But one thing that would be important is, if you are looking for new employees for your management company or what have you, is to ask them about their experience with bed bugs. Ask them how they feel about going into units that may have bed bugs, because that's going to be critically important that all of you be comfortable with that. And I know as I'm saying this, I have some people that are thinking, oh, well, my facilities manager is on this webinar with me, or my supervisor is going to be on this webinar with me, and so they're not talking about me, they're talking about one of them. And I promise you that those two people, they're thinking about you. So this is something that we need to really look at it being part of your responsibility going forward, because what we have done so far in trying to manage our bed bug avoidance is it has just cost such a tremendous amount of money that it has not been sustainable. So think of it this way. If you're responsible for what goes on in buildings, then you definitely need to know about it, okay? And we bring up class action lawsuits because these are on the rise, and I know HUD has already dealt with several of these. And it's going to be very important that you're able to demonstrate that you know what bed bugs look like, that you have tried to get some education, that you are active in going and investigating bed bug complaints. That means going in those units and actually looking for them, and are able to speak intelligently or hire third parties intelligently as far as getting your bed bug remediation sort of under control. So like Molly said, everybody needs to be educated as to what bed bugs look like. You cannot be in a position in a lawsuit now where if I were to question being an expert witness and say, have you been dealing with bed bugs in your facilities for the past year, and have you say yes, and then say you don't know what bed bugs look like. At this point, I would have to argue that you have purposely been keeping yourself ignorant, and any lawyer would come up with something like that. So these are things you need to think about. From a more practical standpoint, one of the things that Molly mentioned that's incredibly important is knowing your building construction. Are there voids? Are there spaces in your building that would be impossible to heat? So if a heat company comes to you and says, we're going to kill your bed bugs with heat, would you be knowledgeable enough to realize that that probably won't work for you? Or as Molly says, if you have poured concrete walls and somebody with a heating system says, well, we're going to have to treat all adjacent units, would you be able to know that no, that would be completely ineffective because bed bugs can't move through our walls? So be aware of whether you have drop ceilings, are bed bugs coming through the hallways. I've had 2 different ladies call me this last week. These are residents that are sure that bed bugs are coming in under the doors. What if you just got brushy door sweeps on the bottom of all the doors? Would that solve your problem or not? So get some sense of your building construction. That will help you save money in making good decisions about what kind of treatment you use. Molly mentioned several times this proactive inspection program. Somebody on your staff really needs to be familiar with bed bugs and be able to go in and inspect units and see if there are bed bugs there. Notice I have a picture of those lint rollers that you can use to get pet hair off of your clothing. The extra sticky variety is very good for rolling along the edge of furniture seams, bed or mattress seams, things like that. And they will pick off bed bugs and their eggs. And then you can actually roll that along pieces of furniture and see if you come up with an insect that way. It's very inexpensive to do. Oh, here's the main thing, okay? We've been dealing with bed bugs for 10 years. No more freaking out. What everybody wants to do when they hear the word bed bug is go, oh my God, and run around in a circle screaming. And the bed bugs could care less. They could. This is just an insect, everyone, just an insect, okay? The media has told us that this is the worst possible thing that could happen to you ever. And I promise you, dealing with bed bugs, if that is the worst thing you ever have to deal with in your life, you have lived a blessed life. They are not the worst thing in the world. They're a pain in the butt, and that is the best way to sum it up. And you're going to need all of your rational faculties to be able to deal with this pest in a very systematic way so it doesn't just cost you a fortune. So we're going to get rid of the freaking out part as of today. Okay. Relying on a third party, this is relying on a pest control company. Consider that no one will ever care more about what happens on the property that you're dealing with than you, okay? So you are the one who really needs to be the most knowledgeable. So you need to hire a competent bedbug management company. Some of you will realize that the company that may be doing your German cockroach work or that's done your pest control work in the past, they were not born treating bed bugs. And a lot of our pest control operators have made it a point to become absolute bedbug experts. But a lot of our pest control companies have not, and they are guessing. And it's pretty easy for me to tell when I'm talking to somebody who works for a pest control company whether they have kept up with their education or not, or whether they are just guessing how to take care of bed bugs. So we're going to have to rely on you, really, to know what you're doing when you're hiring a pest control company and be able to assess whether your company is going to do for you what you need. Okay, so when you hire a company and they go in and say they find bed bugs, one of the things you need to find out really is how many. It's not just, oh, we found bed bugs and that's it. Were there thousands there? Were there two? Discuss with them their different treatment suggestions. Do these treatments make sense? And like I say, one of our HUD facilities here in Virginia went and paid for treatment of adjacent units in a building that had concrete walls, and that didn't make any sense. So you really have to think to yourself, are the suggestions that my company is making sense? What you do not want to accept is getting the same treatment for 2 bed bugs that you would have for 1,000. If you think about that, that's kind of ridiculous. You know, with 1,000 bed bugs, yes, that's when you want to go in there with guns blazing. If you've got 2 bed bugs that somebody found and have them in a baggie, you don't know. That may be the only bed bugs in the whole place. That's when you put monitors in. You don't pay for a $1,200 heat treatment over 2 bed bugs. You can do it, but you're not going to be able to afford to do it next year. Also, you want to be aware of a company that anytime you say bed bugs, they say heat, or you say bed bugs, they say temperate, or you say bed bugs, they say transport. One size fits all, one treatment no matter what. Because the way that we treat a single bed bug on somebody's upholstered chair is very different from treating thousands of bed bugs that are coating the ceiling wall junction in somebody else's apartment, we do not do the same thing for different numbers of bugs. And again, that depending on the levels of clutter, how many bugs there are, we really need to make different decisions about treatment. If you've got a company that's a one-trick pony, you will not be satisfied with the results. That's the deal. You're going to also need to oversee their work. A lot of times I see apartment managers who don't want to go into what they perceive as the infested unit, so they never know whether the bed bugs are gone or not. They're not necessarily talking to the resident. You want to require documentation so that you have fewer bugs in there than you did before. One of the things we see if somebody has thousands of bed bugs in their unit, we're very good at getting rid of about 90 to 95% of those bugs very quickly. But we could be fighting that last 5% for many weeks. But you want documentation that something is being done. So you go in there, guns blazing, kill off the large portion of the bed bugs, but you definitely want documentation that a lot of the bugs died from the treatment. You don't want to allow the same treatment over and over, hoping for better results. I've got this situation here in my state where heat treatment is being applied over and over and over in apartments. And when somebody comes in and says the bed bugs are still alive, they apply the heat treatment again, thinking it will be different this time. Certainly we've run into locations of apartment units that have been treated 8 or 10 times the exact same way. If it doesn't work the first 3 times, try something different. This is something you would do in every aspect of your life. Let's do it with bed bugs too. Okay, if you are unwilling to oversee these things, really, I promise you, you will not be satisfied with the results and your costs will continue to go up every year. One thing I want to get away from is throwing furniture away. That's so 2007, okay? We are past that, asking people to throw their bed bugs into the landfill. Somewhere we've got a landfill that's just crawling with bed bugs. But that is no solution for us. Throwing the bed bugs out is not a solution. I'll talk about heat chambers, but we definitely have ways that furniture can be treated. You do not want your residents to be in a situation where they have thrown away all their belongings and they have no chance of getting more because they are out of money. I've also heard many recommendations out there that you've got to have metal bed frames, and I've talked to women's shelters and fire department people and whatever, where they've taken all of their wooden bed frames, thrown them out and bought all metal ones. Up here at the top, these top two pictures are a metal bed frame covered in bedbug poop, covered in bedbug eggs, and covered in bedbugs. Bedbugs, I don't know where this got started, but bedbugs have no problem with metal, okay? It's easier to treat metal than it is some of the cracks and crevices in wood, but please, I beg you, don't go throwing all of the furniture away. Let's look if they can be treated. And anyone that recommends, particularly a pest control company or anybody else that recommends throwing bedbugs away, they're simply out of ideas. Other things can be done. We don't toss our mattress and our couch just because they have bedbugs. We can go and do some other treatment. Okay. Let me say who it is that's very important with regards to being satisfied with your pest control company going forward. If you are a HUD facility, your procurement officer is in charge of your pest control contract, and they are the most important person for having bedbug knowledge. I think this is the most important person who's really been overlooked. That person's in charge of putting together the pest control contract, and if the contract does not specify what exactly is to be done in your facilities, you are very much at the mercy of whatever a low bid and possibly not well-educated pest control company is going to do to treat your bedbugs. Okay, when I say treat, notice I don't say kill, eliminate, or control. Okay, treat your bedbugs. So these are some important things that need to be included in your contract. First of all, inspecting and then record the number of bedbugs seen, not just yes, bedbugs are there or no, they are not. Are there more than 1,000? Were there 2? Are people complaining of bites but none could be found? Okay, installing monitors, and I've got a picture of a monitor up there in the corner, the upper right-hand corner. This is really your best defense. Going forward, if somebody complains that they have bedbugs, instead of paying for a treatment when you walk into their apartment and it takes you more than 20 minutes to try and find bedbugs or bedbug evidence and you don't find anything, then monitors need to be put in, and then somebody has to come back and inspect those on a regular basis. We recommend about a week interval or 2-week interval, okay? Discuss the most appropriate treatment options based on the infestation level, the level of clutter, and the square footage. Okay, we are not going to probably be doing the same treatment for an efficiency apartment that we would for a 4-bedroom. Is heat the most reasonable thing to use based on the population of bedbugs? If there's 2 bedbugs there, I would think hard about whether you want to do heat or not. If there's 2,000 bedbugs there, definitely you would consider heat. Okay, chemical. Our chemicals, and I'll talk a little bit about that, are very effective if we get the bedbugs a direct hit. Okay, but they need to be used in combination with something else because most of them are not that effective after they're dry. So as soon as the pest control operator leaves, we may not see any more death. How about a combination of the 2? That might be the best way of dealing with the bedbug population depending on how many bugs we're talking about there. Okay, again, we would expect after the initial treatment that you would have at least 2 or more inspections and or treatments at 2-week intervals. And that 2-week intervals is dictated by the fact that bedbugs hatch after about 9 days, okay? A lot of people will say 6 days, and we get about 65% of eggs hatching after they are 6 days old, but we'll have about 90% of eggs hatching after they are 9 days old. So that 2 weeks is to hit any of the eggs, which is our most difficult life stage to kill, and then we can come back and treat those. So 2-week intervals is pretty much the industry standard. Also in your contract, you want to define the word control, okay? Elimination, you can put it in there. Good luck. There's nobody who can guarantee that. But when we are looking at control, usually we ask the residents at regular intervals over a period of like 30 days, 60 days, maybe even 90 days, if they have had anything that looks like a bite or if they've seen a bedbug or bedbug evidence. And if they haven't, after that defined period of time, then we would call the population controlled. Okay, records and oversight. this also would fall to you. You need to go in and find out if your treatments are actually working or if you are paying for the same thing over and over and not getting a better result. Are there any bed bugs that are dead after the treatment? This seems really logical, but I've definitely been in apartments that have recently been treated, and I can't find a dead bed bug laying on the floor. I see a lot of live ones, okay? And how many are dead? Were there 4 bed bugs dead out of 1,000? Or do we have thousands of bed bugs dead? And these are things that you need to know. Okay, one of the things going forward also that Molly mentioned is with the lawsuit situation, it is no longer going to be acceptable for your pest control company to walk away just because a resident is not prepared. Okay, that's going to be a problem because this promotes bed bug spread, for one, and also if that resident turns out to be handicapped in any way or mentally or physically disabled, the courts are not very sympathetic to the fact that they got thousands of bites because the pest control company chose to walk away because they were not prepared. So we are recommending that the pest control company come in and vacuum with a backpack vacuum at least for an hour if the resident is not prepared so that they can try and suck up as many bed bugs as possible and reduce the biting pressure. So here's some contract language I've seen that I don't think is the best. And take a look at this and compare it to what you have now. A full treatment shall consist of inspection, placement of diatomaceous earth, which Molly mentioned, preparation instructions, clearance, verifying eradication of bed bugs, and a 30-day guarantee. In HUD facilities, if you hire a heat treater that is not a certified pest control applicator, they are not going to be allowed to apply diatomaceous earth. Okay? Government facilities have regulations that you have to be a certified applicator even if you're placing diatomaceous earth. So that's one thing to consider. I have a facility that I'm working with. It is a HUD facility. Their heat treater had to subcontract out and get somebody else to apply the diatomaceous earth. Preparation instructions, that's before treatment is applied. I'll talk about that in a moment. Clearance verifying eradication 30-day guarantee. Keep in mind, in legalese, guarantee means your money back. It doesn't mean come back and treat again. It does not. It means you get your money back. So if you see guarantee on some pest control company's contract, I would say they're a little naive, okay? And they may not be the best company to hire. Warranty is the word that we use. That means come back and try again. Okay, one says the contractor shall utilize ambient heat treatments for bed bug treatments. Okay, ambient heat treatment means nothing. Okay, ambient is the air around you right now. Feel it. Okay, heating that air does not affect anything. There are no bed bugs floating around in the air, so ambient heat treatment doesn't mean anything, and we'll talk a little bit about how to get around that in your contract language. Education, including signs of bites. Bites are still questionable. Certainly in elderly disabled housing, we see some difficulty with identifying bites because people just don't react. Let me talk about bedbug detecting dogs. Dogs are great. They are fast. They can do a job that it takes 2 humans to do in about 2 hours. They can do it in about 5 minutes. But you've probably heard some of the controversy of dogs. Some dogs are better than others, but it's mainly because of the handler. We have a lot of new dog handlers in the United States because they work for pest control companies and they are using dogs to detect bed bugs. Here's the thing. Dealing with a bed bug dog in day-to-day life requires a lot of work. And some of the new handlers kind of weaken over time and are not able to keep up with the training. And so the dogs sort of learn, oh, I haven't been fed anything yet, I better sit down somewhere or what have you. One of the best dogs in the United States came to my lab, went through all the bedbug area where we work in our laboratory, did not signal, but before it left and it knew it was done, it sat down and signaled at a chair. There was no bedbugs there. Let me point out one other thing I've just recently come across. The light hit. I've talked to two people just recently. One was at the University of Virginia, worked in the dorms there, was in charge of the dorms, and another was a lady on the phone in New York who had a dog come in and inspect things but would sit down and signal. But there was no live bedbug there. And I always tell everybody, do not pay for a treatment just because the dog sat down. Somebody should be able to show you a live bedbug. That's how they're trained. They signal on live insects. And what happened was the handler said that's a light hit. This is a place where a bedbug walked across previously, or a bedbug has been previously, and the dog is signaling on that. There is no such thing. Do not pay any money for treating if somebody shows you a light hit. Put monitors down there instead. Okay, treatment preparation instructions. Here's a picture of my friend from New York here after she had gotten her instructions on what to do, how to prepare her apartment. Usually there's about 10 instructions there. If you want to read step 1, it says prior to extermination, remove all bedding, mattresses, gather all linens, gather everything. Wash everything in hot water, dry it in the dryer on the hottest setting. I just recently saw some instructions that said you dry them first, then wash them, then dry them again. This takes the resident days. Okay, and infested books and shoes are placed in plastic bags, and you'll notice in your own preparation instructions it doesn't say that you can ever take them out, ever, okay? Their homes are taken apart so the pest control professional can treat the baseboards, the walls, and the furniture. And the pest control company is in there for several hours, okay? But your resident has been working for days. We're trying to get away from this massive prep that the pest control company requires. I don't think it's necessarily fair to ask the resident to basically either bag up all their bed bugs or wash all their bed bugs, and then we pay the pest control company to kill the rest of them. Certainly there's a lot of bed bugs in the bags, okay? Like I say, there's some great companies out there that do excellent work and can offer alternatives to having to put everything a person owns in a bag, and they'll come up with something a little better. Okay, chemical treatments, what you need to understand, and I'd say the most important thing here is this no residual or preventative, is most of our liquid formulations of insecticide are very good at killing bed bugs if you hit them directly. Okay, but resistance to these chemicals is awfully high, so the products typically do not work after they are dry. So think of it this way. When the pest control operator leaves and that material dries, it is no longer working for you. We cannot expect a bed bug to walk across a baseboard on its toenails that has dried residues and pick up a lethal dose of insecticide. So you've got to think of our spray formulations, either aerosol or liquids, as contact kill only. I want to mention Gentrol and our insect growth regulators. A lot of companies use them. We have no data to support that it is effective in reducing or stopping reproduction in bed bugs, and that's several labs across the country have gotten the same results. Okay? If somebody offers you a preventative spray, keep in mind that once that material is dry, bed bugs walking across it will not pick up a lethal dose. So they are not preventing anything unless they are spraying the bugs directly. Don't pay for it. You're throwing your money away. Okay, one way you can find out if your company is keeping up with their education is our 3 latest and greatest products go by the names here, Tempered, Transport, and Tandem. Okay, if your company is not mentioning those as one of the 3 products that they typically use, and it's very important that you have written down the products that are being used, then they are probably not keeping up, and I would go with somebody else. Now, are these products miracles? Are they going to do something more for you than any other product in the world? They will not. They are okay. We are getting good results right now, but resistance has already been developed to all of these because half of them, they're combination products that have pyrethroids in them. There's a lot of resistance to pyrethroids. But this is one way that you would be able to tell whether your company is keeping up with the bedbug world or not. Insecticidal dusts are the only products that we have that have residual activity. That's the only chemical products, okay? And this is because a bug walks through the dust clings to the bug's body, it can't get away with it. That is direct contact, okay? So it's not just walking across the dust and having to pick it up on its toenails. It clings to the body, and then that's direct contact. The only problem with insecticidal dusts is that a label is very restrictive as to where we can use them. We can't just put them in places where people are going to end up breathing this material. So like Molly says, why worry about that? Let's just use desiccant dust that dry out the wax layer on the outside of the bug so it dies of dehydration, like Diatomaceous Earth or silica aerogel. Those labels are broad enough. We can put that dust in a lot of locations. The bugs walk through it, pick up a dose of dust on their body, it clings to them, dries them out, and they die without the toxicity. Whole home heat, this is very important that you know something about. We have two types, propane or electric. Both work very well. Let me point out to you, though, the equipment cost, if you're going to get proper heating equipment, runs somewhere between $85,000 and $100,000. If you pay a lot less, like I can buy a heater for $2,000, you will not be satisfied with the results, okay? You will not be satisfied with the results. So what good is that $2,000? So as Molly pointed out, thermal death point for eggs is about 122 degrees Fahrenheit, and for nymphs and adults, it's about 118. These temperatures need to be reached at the bedbug's body. If that bedbug is in the middle of a hide-a-bed couch, that means the middle of the hide-a-bed couch has to get up to 118 degrees. This will take hours for that to happen. Think about it. And 118 isn't that hot. Temperature in the air, okay, so if I put a sensor out on the top of my desk and I'm going to use that to tell me that it's gotten up to 118 degrees, temperature in the air, unless there's bedbugs in the air, it does not matter. It's got to get up to 118 degrees at the bedbug itself, okay? Also, whenever using a heating system, got to remember that there are state requirements that vary by state as to what overhead sprinkler systems, how they have to be dealt with. And it's very important that your pest control company be aware of what your state regulations are if you have an overhead sprinkler system. This is a propane system that you're looking at here on this slide. This is the Thermopure heat system. So they heat the air with propane and then use these mylar ducts to push it into the home, and it increases the interior pressure, pushing the heated air into cracks and crevices. Here is an electrical system which uses large heaters, and I'm showing you this picture on the right-hand side. Virginia Tech purchased this system, and you see these 1, 2, 3 large heaters here, and these 3 large heaters are in a dorm room. Okay, dorm room is very small. So electric heat, the advantage is it can be used in multi-story buildings. You cannot bring a propane tank up 9 floors. Okay, so that's an advantage there. We purchased this. But you've got to have enough firepower in each room to be able to get it up to temperature. And that means there has to be a lot of sensors in that room also telling you that the temperature is getting up to what it needs to be. Here's what's most important for you. This is your documentation. Any heat system that you hire, okay, needs to have a bunch of sensors wireless sensors that you hide in the deepest, darkest places, the hardest to heat locations in the room you're trying to heat, and then you watch as each of those get up to temperature. So here's the thermal death point for eggs at 122 degrees, and you can see these blue arrows as each of the sensors in the hard-to-heat locations make it up to temperature, okay? When your company is done, they should be able to print this out for you as a permanent record showing that all those hard-to-heat locations actually made it up to the temperature that you needed. There was a question about green. that came in, and I'm going to use this as an example. This is a company out of Michigan that actually does heat treatment and dogs and various other bed bug treatments. Their company name is BioGreen. Bio meaning living and green. Makes it sound like it's very nice for living things. Okay, nice and safe. Do we want it to be safe for bed bugs? They're in the bio realm there. But realize that green is really only a marketing term. It could just as easily be purple. It has no scientific meaning. It is marketing. Think about the smartphone. Is the smartphone really smart? Can it give you career advice? Can it tell you how to raise your children? No. What the smartphone does is something very specific. It interfaces with the internet and a variety of other things. So that's what makes it a smartphone. What makes something green in marketing terms generally means that it is not using chemical insecticides or any of the insecticidal products that are typically registered with the EPA, okay? But green has no specific meaning. It can be left up to the interpretation of the pest control company. Green they selected, I guess, because it's the color of plants, okay? But it really has no specific meaning. It could be anything. I want you to think before you purchase any kind of heat treatment, and I'll just give you an example. This is a heat treatment company that I have worked with. I liked the technician very much, really nice guy. But the way that they sold this is that they heat treated any apartment unit, okay, whether it had one bedroom or four, for 4 hours only. 4 hours and they're done. I have to ask you, do you think that you could take a 5-pound turkey and a 25-pound turkey and put it in the same oven and expect it to get done at the same time? Okay, it defies the laws of physics. There's nothing magical about 4 hours. You cannot do 4 hours in a 1-bedroom and 4 hours in a 4-bedroom and expect to get decent results. Sometimes they would do a double treatment. A double treatment would mean 8 hours. They also offered the second treatment free if it was needed, and I remember the manager told me that day, he goes, well, the good thing about them is they'll do the second treatment for free if it doesn't work the first time. That's not free. They charge $900 per treatment. If you have to have it done twice, that's 2 treatments at $450. Okay, think about it. Think about it. Okay. The day I went and watched the treatment being done, I was the only one present that had a temperature measuring device. The technician had no idea what any of the items in the apartment, what temperature they had gotten up to, if anything. Also, this young man, although very nice, had been trained as a sous chef in Michigan, and he was showing me bedbug evidence in the unit that we were in, and what he was showing me was German cockroach egg cases. So he did not have any training. And in my state of Virginia, heat treatment, because you're not applying a pesticide, is completely unregulated. It does not require that you have any pest control knowledge whatsoever, and he did not. Here we are inside a unit that this young man was treating, and he's got one heater that is treating the entire bottom floor. Okay, there's a kitchen right next to this on the other side of this wall that's at least this big. And he was showing me that he monitored the heat on the heater itself. Yes, the heater was up to 160. When I took my temperature measuring device and went around and looked at these TVs and things, there wasn't anything that was over 86 degrees in here. When I went upstairs where he had 2 heaters, this surface on the bottom side of the box springs was up at 122. Very good. But the surface on the top of that box springs next to the wall was only at 90. Okay, that will not kill bed bugs. That will not kill bed bugs. And let me just show you some results. This is a 77-year-old lady here who has been treated many times with this same exact heating system. And one of the reasons it didn't work, she was told, is the fact that she had too much stuff. So she basically threw everything away. And this is how much stuff she has now. This is a picture of her bedroom. This is all she has in there. She has no chance of getting any new stuff, I don't think. But what she's in possession of a lot of is these bed bugs. And like I said, she's been treated multiple times. And the problem is this heating system does not have enough firepower to get rid of these bed bugs. Imagine taking a candle, putting it in a stadium, and saying, I'm doing heat treatment for bed bugs. Not enough fire coming out to ever get these bugs up to temperature. You can treat it 700 times. It won't make a difference. So you see the problems that we have here at $900 a pop. Okay, you may think, well, I'll buy a heater, get it myself. This is something else that we have come across in our work. This one's a couple $1,000s. It does have 2 sensors, but it does say you put the sensors on top of surfaces. You don't bury them down deep in anything, and it also doesn't have a remote readout as to when they get up to temperature. And I want to point out most recently, this particular heating device has been the subject of a lawsuit in California. It says, when you read the marketing materials for it online, that it is meant to kill bed bugs. And I bet if you put some bed bugs in front of it, you probably would kill them. However, it does not produce enough firepower to kill the bed bugs, and you have to plug this into the residents' electrical system, so they're paying the electricity. This is not a successful device. Here's something that will work. I would recommend this sort of thing is buying a heat chamber and keep it on site. So if people need to heat, let's say, a couch that they found or got from their friend or whatever, and they want to keep it and move it into their apartment, you can put it inside of this heat chamber and heat it up and make sure that it actually gets to temperature. This yellow one here is about $6,000. And I can hear somebody gasp about that cost. But I will tell you, we were working in a county facility up in Northern Virginia not too long ago where their problem was having individual bed bugs showing up on chairs and furniture that the public used in a building, in a public facility. And it would be ideal to put those chairs in there and just cook any bed bugs out should there be any. Instead, they purchased a contract with a pest control company for $610,000 to have their baseboards sprayed every quarter. And that was completely ineffective. Okay, winding down here. Steam, of course, works very well for bed bugs. But I will say that you have to be able, you can see bed bugs, as Molly pointed out, and it doesn't really make sense to steam furniture if you see no bed bugs on it. Okay, as you are steaming, moving that steamer head 1 inch per second, you should be able to see the bed bugs that are in those cracks and crevices of the furniture. If you see nothing there, you are steaming nothing. Okay, you are steaming nothing. The fire and rescue group, also up in Northern Virginia, had all of their mattress treated for 1 or 2 bed bugs that they found. Okay, they had a pest control company come and steam all of their mattresses. Some poor guy is there steaming all the seams of a mattress, and there are no bed bugs that he can see. He is steaming nothing. Nothing. Okay, so be aware of that. Steam is not something you really pull out for 1 or 2 bed bugs at all. That's your 1,000 bed bug deal. You can buy your own steamer, like this gentleman did, and he works at a homeless shelter up in Warrenton, Virginia. But notice his steamer head is very small, and so the velocity of the steam was coming out very, very fast, and he was telling me that the bed bugs disintegrated before his eyes. But what he didn't realize is he was basically blowing them across the room. Definitely the clothes dryer is one of the best things that we can use. I recommend for apartment managers that you have several on site that are just specifically reserved for bed bug treatment only. Provide people with tokens so they can do a decent job of getting their laundry for the treatment prep done. It would be good if you get dryers that have shelves that you can place in them so they can do shoes and other things like that. That will ultimately save you money. Okay. One of the last topics here is structural fumigation. A lot of people don't understand what fumigation is. Okay, so let me point it out to you. This is an apartment that is being fumigated. They put the tent over it and release a poison gas inside. There will be placards all over that building saying, "Do not enter." Poison gas being used. Same thing with homes. We don't typically do this in my state because this is typically used for drywood termites, which is not a pest that we have here. A lot of people, though, will tell me that they've had their apartment fumigated, and I promise they have not. Fogging, using bug bombs, those are not fumigations. Fumigation has a very specific meaning and a lot of laws associated with it. So let me talk to you about fumigation. Okay, the building is emptied and sealed. You can do a tape and seal fumigation or put the big tent over it. There is only one product that is used for fumigation in the United States, and that is Vacant fumigant. It's sulfuryl fluoride, and it's pumped into the building after everybody is out of it and after they've done a lot of preparation to get a certain volume per cubic foot. Okay, and then that fumigant is monitored remotely on a laptop like you see down here to achieve a certain number of ounce hours to make sure that everything is penetrated. And these fumigant particles, this is like a volatile gas, and each molecule is so small it can actually penetrate into wood and kill dry wood termites. So this is something that's going to be very successful. It will kill everything in the building, all right? If you're in the building, it will kill you. If there are mice in the building, it will kill mice. If there's plants in the building, it'll do a number on plants, okay? So this is what fumigation is about. Everybody is removed, everything is prepared, tent, somebody monitors, puts the gas in, and it's definitely an overnight to a couple of day activity. Then, after it has reached the number of ounce hours, the tent is taken off, it is aerated, all these tiny, tiny particles volatilize into the air, and there are no residues, and there is no residual activity. So, somebody could come in tomorrow and bring bed bugs with them. Multi-unit housing runs about between $10,000 to $100,000. This is not a cheap option. Okay? Okay, also can be done in chambers for furniture. And these days, we've got a lot of bed bugs in cars now. The heat outside doesn't typically kill them, so a lot of cars are having to be fumigated as well. New van strips, not a fumigant. Okay, this is a highly volatile organophosphate insecticide that's been put inside of a plastic matrix. I've done several tests with it in bags and in closets because I was looking for something that could treat books and shoes and things like that. Had about 80% mortality after 14 days, so it wasn't ideal. Much better to be put into locations where there's better airflow and then it circulates better. But again, that's another situation where you can't have people or pets in place at the time that you're doing it. Okay, last slide here, internet and green bedbug products. First of all, internet products, I'll say they're great. The bedbugs die within 3 seconds. Okay, sounds wonderful. Let me point out, ultrasonic devices have never worked on any pest ever, ever. Okay, they've been tested extensively. Mice, cockroaches, bedbugs, you name it. Nobody cares. Okay, liquid, currently available. There's nothing that repels bedbugs once it's dry. You can chase them off with water when it's wet, but once anything is dry, we are not able to repel bedbugs or keep them out of anything. Most any liquid formulation that they advertise on the internet will kill bed bugs if you get a direct hit. You could try it with dishwashing liquid. You'll kill them. Certainly isopropyl alcohol, you'll kill them. Hairspray, Aquanet hairspray, probably kill anything. But so will hitting them with a hammer, okay? Keep in mind, if any product was as great as it sounded, we would all be using it and you would not be spending your time listening to a webinar like this. And thank you very much for your time. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Miller and Molly. We went a little over time, but it was such great information. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everyone hanging in there. Just a few follow-up items. Written responses to all the questions will be posted at stoppest.org. VTech Bedbug. And if you have any questions, if you're watching the recorded version of this webinar, you can submit questions to stoppest@cornell.edu. And I hope that you stay hooked up with us because next webinar is going to be on funding opportunities for IPM and affordable housing. We'll announce when that is going to be in November. I also want to put in a plug for Stop Pests in Housing. We offer consultation and training for public housing and property-based rental assistance properties to implement IPM. So get in touch with us if you're looking for this free service, which includes an on-site training, and that can be found at our request form on our website. And, of course, our website has a ton of information. I encourage you all to head over there, look at the pest solutions. We've got many resources that will be very helpful for you. And I'd like to thank, of course, HUD and the USDA for funding Stop Pests in Housing and the research that was presented today.